अस्सलामुअलैकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम, अम्मा बाद, फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम, बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली। Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in verse number 24, and she certainly was determined to seduce him. The expression that has been used in Quran is وَلَقَدْ حَمَّتْ بِهِ. It's not like, there is a girl who likes a guy, and when she's talking to him, it's like a nice, seductive kind of a body language. ये notes share हो रहे हैं. सुनिए, मुझे case नहीं समझ आ रहा, मुझे history में help कर देंगे, differential diagnosis में help कर देंगे, can we work on this project? No, nothing like that. It's not like, she was asking him and she was throwing pointers to him. What she actually was doing was وَلَقَدْ حَمَّتْ بِهِ. She was determined to seduce him. She had her mind on him and she was like, no way, I'm not letting him go now. This is like a sick kind of a mentality that sometimes people have. मैं उसके बगैर जिंदा भी नहीं रह सकती. और उसके बाद किसी और से शादी करके 3 बच्चों के साथ you go on a world tour and you're totally fine later on. And he would have also been determined to do it if he had not seen the Burhan of his Rabb. Now these are very important points that we have to talk about. A boy and a girl, they will always have attraction for each other. It is very, very natural. Many times when the mothers, they talk to me about their kids and say, Mera beta, meri beti bahut sharif hai. That doesn't mean they won't have attraction for the opposite sex. And when you tell them कि उनकी शादी कर दो, नहीं उसको तो शौक ही नहीं, उसका तो दिल ही नहीं चाहता. It is next to impossible because you see wedding from another perspective, but otherwise whenever you are with the opposite sex, you would feel some sort of attraction. आपका style जरूर change होता है, whether it's a guy or a girl. ठीक है, आप अपने आप को control करते हैं. यहाँ पे Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us in a very subtle way the same kind of a message. If one person approaches you, it is very difficult to control your impulses, not to talk to that other person, not to interact with him, when that person is constantly showing interest in you. आप chat पे बैठे हुए हैं, हर वक्त हर थोड़े दिन के बाद वो friend request भेज रहा है, या chat कर रहा है, and you are avoiding, you are like, yes, okay, sure. You are trying to be just decent with your class fellow or somebody you know. It could be your cousin, it could be your class fellow, anyone. And you are trying to minimize the interaction that you have with him. तो क्या होगा? A point will come when you would still say, अच्छा आप क्या करते हैं? You'll be like, बुरा लगता है ना, उसने इतनी दफा पूछा, मैं भी पूछ ही लूँ. And ultimately it expands into lot of conversation, sharing ideas on different things, and you keep telling yourself, we are just friends, we are just discussing ideas. But यहाँ पे क्या होता है? He would have been into the same trap till he had seen Burhan of his Rabb. What is this Burhan? That means it is not in our control that we fix our emotions like this. The more you are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a special kind of a help that comes from Him, that you control your impulses, that you are able to fix yourself, that there is an inner alarm which starts buzzing the moment you feel you are falling into such trap. आप फौरन careful हो जाते हैं. Lot of the time when people have no connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they end up into one relationship after another relationship. तो यहाँ पे वो बुरहान की बात करते हैं. كَذَلِكَ لِنَصْرِفَ عَنْهُ السُّوءَ. And thus it was that we should avoid from him evil and immorality. So जब आपका अल्लाह ताला के साथ connection strong होता है, how it helps you? It helps you from su and fahsha, sins and fahsha, vulgarity. If you're worried that I do try my level best, but I end up giggling and talking and cracking jokes in front of the guys, my class fellows, and I'm not interested in them. I know I shouldn't be talking too much to the men, but somehow I end up talking to them. So you will not be able to help yourself till you have this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're worried about these things, these elements, work on your relationship with Allah. Second important thing, if you see the connection over here, su and fahsha. Su is what sins and fahsha is vulgarity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins over here with sins. And what are sins? Lying, cheating, backbiting, being rude to your parents, even breaking rules, like the regular rules within the country or even your college. If you are used to sinning, you backbite about anyone and somebody tells you you're backbiting and you say, so, main galat to nahi kehni. You justify it. Somebody says to you, you are lying. And you're like, तो मैंने एक झूठ बोला है ना, लोग तो हर बात पे झूठ बोलते हैं. What's the big deal? If you start justifying your sins, what happens? Basically your heart becomes dead. And that is when vulgarity becomes very easy for you. You're opening more and more doors over there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, he was one of our chosen servants. If you look at the Arabic text, mukhlis, khalis. आजकल लोग क्या कहते हैं? खालिस दूध मिले, खालिस मटेरियल मिले, pure silk, pure cotton, back to basics, organic food, pure. We want purity in everything, purity in relationship. बस तुम मेरे हो, तुम उसकी तरफ देखो भी ना, किसी और की तरफ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what was his speciality? He was mukhlis. He purified himself for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was not cheating on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was all alone with that woman in the house. Now imagine, he is very handsome, he is young. When you are young, you have a lot of desires. Why do youngsters listen to songs? Why do youngsters want to watch a lot of movies? Because the romance always appeals to them. He purified his intention, his action for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped him. It is like a very, very simple principle that we see. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah has forgiven my nation for what they think of to themselves, so long as they do not act upon it or speak of it. This is very important. Like, we are not accountable for our thoughts unless it becomes into a fiction novel. Sometimes you're just sitting somewhere and you have male colleagues with you and you told yourself you're not going to be indulged into any relationship. But you suddenly look at this guy and you're like, oh, he's so handsome. Or this is the kind of guy I like for a husband. ऐसा लड़का मुझे अच्छा लगता है. You're not even sharing your thoughts with anyone. Till that point, you're not criminal. It's a very instinctive, subconscious thing that pops up in your head. Lekin, if you move beyond that, you start sharing it with the friends, मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता है. So every time he walks in, she's like, he's here. And she's giving you looks, whenever he is either asking a question in the class. So then you are expanding. As I said, now you are moving on from the preface to chapter 1, then chapter 2, then chapter 3, then climax, anti-climax. The story moves on. But if you have a thought and you suddenly put a stop to that thought, telling yourself, I know I'm attracted, but I need to draw a line between halal and haram. And the moment I draw this line, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to purify me, keep me safe. And I'm going to save this emotion for my husband. You will feel that safety and clarity in your actions as well. Rasulullah said, behold, a man is not alone with a woman, but the third of them is shaitan. You should never be alone with a guy. जगह होता है ना कि 4 or 5 friends are sitting, वो गप्पे लगा रही हैं, and then 2 of them they sneak out. थोड़ा सा साइड पे खड़े होकर वो बातें कर रहे हैं. वो खोली हुई है. They are actually discussing the notes. But when they are alone, even when they are discussing projects, studies, subject, वो जो दिल में कुछ हो रहा है ना दोनों के, वो उसको कौन रास्ता दे रहा है? शैतान. आपको वो लीड करता जा रहा है. And you're like, जब मैं इसके साथ डिस्कस करती हूँ कितना मजा आता है, कितनी अच्छा वो एक्सप्लेन करता है. वो जो मेरी फ्रेंड्स हैं वो इतना अच्छा तो एक्सप्लेन नहीं करती. Many times when we talk about Islam and we say Islam is such a conservative kind of a deen, and a lot of time people say, when I'm studying in medical college or I am trying to be very ambitious, it is impossible to segregate myself in my college, in my studies, in my career. And I don't know how people expect me to segregate myself, and that is why I avoid religious gatherings. Because the moment I sit in a religious gathering, what they do is, they just tell me this is haram, this is haram, this is haram. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants for us through all those lines and boundaries is, give us sabizara, close all the doors which lead to haram. Why? Is it just our issue as Muslims? Go abroad, teenage pregnancies. You might say, oh, give me a break. I'm not like those people. Do you think I'm gonna end up having a physical relationship with someone? मैं इतनी पागल तो नहीं हूँ. वो जो वेस्ट की लड़कियाँ वो भी यही सोचती थी. If you move a generation back, we are only into a relationship. But when they made all those relationships into a norm, so ultimately what happened was everything became normal for them. And they started moving on from one thing to another thing. You know, when you are professional, you will be working with the guys, you will be doing projects with the guys. Ultimately, when you will go more towards the clinical side, तो वहाँ आपकी interaction और ज़्यादा हो जाती है. So what you have to do is work on these areas. Number one, lower your gaze. Now this is a very interesting concept. I wish I had elaborate time to talk about it. But lowering the gaze doesn't mean you're bumping into walls and places because you're just looking down. Basically, the concept in Islam about lowering the gaze is whenever you feel attraction towards someone. For example, you have a teacher over here, a male teacher, and if you feel that I need to lower the gaze and he is drawing something for you, he's showing you something, so you have to look up at him because he's talking to you. And you have to listen to him and also see whatever he's showing you or elaborating on. But if during that lecture or that session, suddenly you have this feeling in your heart, sir, huh? It is so handsome, it's so nice. Hey, circus style. Hey, jab sir aise karte hain. Did you notice that? The moment this thought comes in your head, that's the point when you have to lower your gaze. In all those situations, when you feel that this is going to become a point of fitna for you, or you suddenly started liking someone because you were looking at that person, you have to lower your gaze. And apart from that, obviously, when there's a guy who's interacting with you, try not to look into his eyes, because that is going to open a lot of windows for you. Second important thing is avoid places of fitna. All those places where you feel that you'll be exposing yourself more and more to this option that the guys come up and talk to you. It is not necessary that you have to fit in every crowd and try to prove to be bold and beautiful by talking to the guys and proving your wits to them. You don't have to do that because everyone is doing it, so you have to do it. You need to have your own identity. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes for all of us. Also remember, age does not matter. You know, many a times when I have seen young people who are interacting with their seniors and they feel that he's like my dad, he's like my father, he's like my elder brother, and I'm just taking help from him. And many a times, again, the attraction develops. Whenever this is a non-mahram, you have to be very careful with that person. It's a simple phenomenon. Okay? Many a time, there are cases of abuse when we have uncles coming in our homes, and they are hugging us, and they're kissing us, and you get this feeling of bad touch. You're not happy, you know, why this uncle gets so chummy with me? I just can't stand him. Then do not be more relaxed and casual. This is again an important thing. When I walk in, I see guys are sitting, and the girl is also sitting totally relaxed, almost putting her head on the shoulder of the guy. Don't do that. We need to be very careful. We need to be very composed. It's not like you don't have to be stiff with anyone. We need to be very natural, but natural in a way that we stay composed. Why? Is it like you are suffocating yourself? No. This is for your own safety. If you don't agree with these Islamic principles, look into the figures of the West. Look what is actually happening over there. And all those things are creeping in our society as well. But when you find out जो कुछ होता है, फिर क्या होता है? Waters have gone overboard. You're totally flooded. उस time पे फिर आप कुछ कर नहीं सकते. So it is important for us to learn through that experience. Now the story moves on. Verse number 25. وَاسْتَبَقَ الْبَابَ وَقَدَّتْ قَمِيصُهُ مِنْ دُبُرٍ. And they both raced to the door. Now imagine a situation. First he called him. Aajo. He said no. And then they both raced towards the door. Both made the same action, but their intention was different. One was trying to safeguard himself. The other was trying to have a relationship. And she tore his shirt from the back. And they found her husband at the door. It's like total drama. और अगर ड्रामा होता तो यहाँ पे एपिसोड खत्म हो जाती. So that you keep thinking about it till the next week. She said, "What is the recompense of one who intended evil for your wife? but that he be imprisoned or a painful punishment. Now she totally changes her stance. She was dying to have a relationship with him, and the moment she sees her husband at the door, she puts the whole blame on him. In verse number 26, Yusuf alayhi salam said, "It was she who sought to seduce me." And a witness from her family testified. Now this is very amazing. Yusuf alayhi salam, if you look at him, and throughout the story that we have covered so far, we hardly see him speaking. If you notice, what was the time when he spoke? Only the dream. Quote unquote came only when he was dreaming. And ultimately what happens is, कि उसके बाद सारा कुछ हो गया, he was sold, he grew up, we don't hear him say anything. Like an obedient person, he was just going by Allah's plan. And suddenly when this woman calls him, and the husband catches them both in that situation, he speaks out. Why? Because for any person, this kind of tag is not a good tag. That people identify you as being immodest. Because such statements, they have profound impact on you years later. He was supposed to be serving Allah's deen. So for such a person, such tagline is even worse. And the witness from her family testified. If his shirt is torn from the front, then she has told the truth and he is of the liars. But if his shirt is torn from the back, then she has lied and he is of the truthful. That means हमारे दीन में circumstantial evidence बहुत important है. सुब्हानकल्लाहुम्मा व बिहम्दिका नशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्ला अंता नस्तगफिरुका व नतूबु इलैक. अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू.